I never thought someone would tell me that their lunch was more important than a dying child. But that's what happened in my courtroom. I'm Judge Frank Caprio. I've been a judge for 22 years. I've seen many cases, but nothing prepared me for this one. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done. Hit subscribe if you believe everyone should follow the law. The woman standing in front of me was Victoria Ashford. Her husband was a state senator. She wore expensive clothes. Her coat cost thousands of dollars. She had diamonds on her wrist. She didn't look worried. She looked annoyed. Let me tell you how this started. It was August 23rd, 2025, a Thursday afternoon. Traffic was heavy on Riverside Boulevard. Then everyone heard sirens. An ambulance was coming. The lights were flashing red and blue. The ambulance needed to get through fast. Every car moved to the side. Every car except one, a black Mercedes. The license plate said HFRD1. The ambulance driver was Michael Torres. He's been doing this job for 15 years. He honked the horn. The Mercedes didn't move. It just sat there blocking the road. Michael had to drive into the other lane. He almost hit another car. Inside that ambulance was a 7-year-old girl named Emma Rodriguez. She couldn't breathe. She was having a bad asthma attack. Share this video with someone because what happened next will shock you. The delay was 4 minutes and 37 seconds. That's what the record showed. Emma didn't have those extra minutes. When the ambulance finally reached the hospital, Emma had stopped breathing. The doctors worked hard. Dr. Sarah Kimura did emergency treatment. Emma survived. But those missing minutes caused brain damage. Emma used to be a healthy girl who loved dancing. Now she has memory problems and trouble moving her hands. When Officer James Bradley stopped Victoria 3 blocks later, he turned on his camera. Everything was recorded. Victoria rolled down her window. She looked angry. Her first words were, "Do you know who my husband is?" Officer Bradley stayed calm. "Ma'am, you didn't move for an emergency vehicle. That's against the law." Victoria laughed. She actually laughed. "I had a lunch reservation at La Maison at 1:30. I've been waiting 6 weeks for that table. The ambulance could go around me." Like this video, if you believe no lunch is worth a child's life. Officer Bradley gave her a ticket. Most people would feel bad and pay the fine, not Victoria. She made 3 phone calls right away. One to her husband, one to her lawyer, one to the mayor's office. By the end of the week, Officer Bradley was being investigated for harassment. The case came to my courtroom 2 months later. When I read the file, I knew this would be difficult. I grew up in a working-class family. My dad drove a bus. My mom was a nurse. They taught me that doing the right thing matters more than money or power. The courtroom was full that day. News cameras were everywhere. People wanted to see what would happen. This wasn't just about a traffic ticket anymore. Everyone was watching. Victoria walked in with her lawyer, Preston Matthews. He wore an expensive suit. They sat down like this was no big deal. Victoria checked her watch. She crossed her legs. She looked bored. The prosecutor was Monica Rivera. She's a great lawyer who grew up in the same neighborhood as Emma's family. She wanted this case. I could see the fire in her eyes. Drop a comment if you've ever seen someone act like they're above the law. "All rise," my assistant said. I came in and sat down. "Court is now in session. Are both sides ready?" "Ready, Your Honor," Monica said. "Ready," Preston said without much interest. "Call your first witness," I told Monica. "I call Officer James Bradley." Officer Bradley came forward. He put his hand on the Bible and promised to tell the truth. Monica asked him about the traffic stop. They played the camera video. Preston objected twice. I said no both times. The facts were clear. Then Monica called Michael Torres, the ambulance driver. He was 43 years old. He looked tired. He told us what happened. I was honking and flashing my lights. The car just sat there. I could see the driver looking at her phone. She wasn't moving. I had to drive into traffic coming the other way. I've done this job for 15 years. I've never felt so helpless. Hit subscribe if you support our first responders. "Can you tell us about your patient that day?" Monica asked. Michael's voice got quieter. "Emma Rodriguez, 7 years old, bad asthma attack. Her oxygen was very low when we picked her up. She needed help immediately. Every second mattered." "What happened because of the delay?" "Her condition got worse fast. By the time we got to the hospital, she had stopped breathing. The doctor said if we'd been just 2 minutes earlier, he couldn't finish. He had to stop and breathe." The courtroom was completely silent. I looked at Victoria. She was looking at her nails. She showed no feelings at all. Monica then called Dr. Sarah Kimura. She was the emergency room doctor. She told us about Emma's arrival, the emergency work to save her, the fight to get oxygen to her brain. Then she explained what happened to Emma. Emma suffered brain injury because she didn't get enough oxygen. She now has trouble thinking and remembering. Her hands don't work as well. She goes to therapy 4 times a week. We don't know if she'll get completely better. The timing of getting to the hospital was very important. I've been a judge for over 20 years. I've stayed calm through murder trials and terrible cases. But hearing about this little girl struggling to hold a crayon made me emotional. I looked at the people watching and saw Emma's mother, Carmen Rodriguez. She was crying. Share this with someone who needs to hear this story. Your Honor, Monica said, I want to call Carmen Rodriguez. Preston stood up fast. Objection. This is just emotional testimony. I stared at him. No, what happened matters. Mrs. Rodriguez, please come forward. Carmen was 34 years old. She was a preschool teacher. She worked 2 jobs to support her family. Her husband had died 3 years ago. She wore a simple blue dress. She was holding a tissue. When Monica asked her to talk about that day, she started crying. I got a call at work. They said Emma couldn't breathe. They were taking her to the hospital. I drove there as fast as I could. When I got there, they were doing CPR on my baby, my 7-year-old baby. Monica asked gently, Can you tell us about Emma now? Carmen nodded and wiped her eyes. Emma was the top student in her class. She loved reading. She wanted to be a vet. Now she can't remember what happened in the morning. Her hands don't work right. She can't dance anymore. She asks me why she can't do the things she used to do. I don't know what to tell her. She looked right at Victoria. My daughter's life changed forever because someone couldn't pull over, because someone's lunch was more important than my child's life. The courtroom felt like it might explode. People were crying. Victoria just stared back with no emotion. Drop a comment and tell me what punishment fits this crime. Preston stood up to ask questions. Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm sorry about your daughter, but can you prove the delay caused her injury? Maybe it would have happened anyway. Monica objected. I agreed with her. The doctor already explained that. Move on. Preston shrugged. No more questions. Then it was Victoria's turn. Preston called her to testify. She walked up, put her hand on the Bible, and promised to tell the truth. Mrs. Ashford, tell us what happened on August 23rd, Preston said. Victoria's voice was smooth. I was driving to lunch. Traffic was bad. I heard sirens, but I couldn't move. There was a truck next to me. I would have hit it if I moved, so I waited, and the ambulance went around. It sounded reasonable, except the traffic camera showed there was no truck. Monica stood up for her turn. Mrs. Ashford, you said a truck stopped you from moving, right? Yes. Your Honor, I want to play the traffic camera video from that day. The screens turned on. The video was very clear. Victoria's Mercedes was sitting there. The ambulance was behind it with lights flashing. The lane next to her was empty. No truck, nothing. The Mercedes didn't move for 43 seconds. You could see Victoria looking down at her phone. Like this video, if you believe lies should have consequences. Mrs. Ashford, Monica said calmly, do you see a truck in that video? Victoria's face changed. I must have remembered wrong. You remembered wrong about a truck that doesn't exist while you were under oath? Preston objected. I said no. Victoria was on her own. Let me ask something else, Monica said. When the officer stopped you, what did you say? I don't remember. You don't remember? Should I play the audio recording? Victoria moved in her seat. I may have been frustrated. You said, do you know who my husband is? I had a lunch reservation at La Maison at 1:30. I've been waiting 6 weeks for that table. The ambulance could go around me. Did you say that? People in the courtroom gasped. Hearing those words in court made them sound even worse. I was stressed, Victoria said weakly. You were stressed? Mrs. Ashford, a child was dying in that ambulance, a 7-year-old girl who now has brain damage, and you were stressed about missing lunch? Preston objected. I allowed it this time, but everyone had heard the truth. No more questions, Monica said. Hit subscribe if you want to see justice win. Then came closing statements. Preston gave a fancy speech about doubt and mistakes. He said Victoria was normal and made an error. He said this case was political. Then Monica stood up. She didn't use fancy words. She just told the truth. Your Honor, this case is simple. Victoria Ashford broke the law. She refused to move for an emergency vehicle. But more than that, she lied. She lied to the officer. She lied today. When we showed her the video, she said she remembered wrong. This isn't about politics. This is about Emma Rodriguez, who will live with the results of Victoria's selfishness forever. The law protects people like Emma. When people think they're above the law, we must prove them wrong. The courtroom clapped. I had to bang my gavel. Quiet, I said firmly, but inside, I felt the same way. I took a 30-minute break. I went to my office and sat in my chair. I thought about Emma struggling to hold a crayon. I thought about her mother's tears. I thought about the ambulance driver's helplessness. And I thought about Victoria checking her watch like this was just annoying. Drop a comment and tell me what sentence you think is right. When I came back, the courtroom was even more full. People were standing. Everyone was waiting. Victoria sat at her table. Her lawyer whispered to her. She still looked annoyed, not scared. "All rise," my assistant said. I sat down. "Please sit. I'm ready to give my decision." The room went totally silent. "Mrs. Ashford, please stand." She stood up. Preston stood next to her. I took a breath. "I've been a judge for 22 years. I've seen thousands of cases. Each one taught me about people. Some people make mistakes and feel sorry. Others show who they really are. Mrs. Ashford, today you showed us exactly who you are." Her jaw got tight. "You broke the law by not moving for the ambulance. That's proven by witnesses, video, and your own words. But what bothers me more is that you don't feel sorry. You lied to the police officer. You lied today under oath. You showed no care for a dying child. Even now, after hearing about the harm you caused, you seem more annoyed about your schedule than the damage to Emma's life. Share this video if you believe judges should tell the truth. Your lawyer said this is political. Let me be clear. This has nothing to do with your husband. If you were a teacher or a store worker, you would still be here. Money and connections don't protect you in my courtroom. I could see people writing. Cameras were rolling. This was the important moment. On the charge of not yielding to an emergency vehicle, I find you guilty. The maximum fine is $1,000. I'm giving you that maximum fine. Also, you must do 200 hours of community service at St. Mary's Hospital emergency room. You will work with the first responders whose work you blocked. You will see what they see. Maybe you will finally understand what happened that day. Victoria's face went white. Preston stood up. "Your Honor, 200 hours is too much." I stopped him. "I'm not done. Mrs. Ashford, your driver's license is suspended for 1 year. During that time, you will use buses or taxis. You will know what it's like to not have the privilege of driving. You will take a first responder class and write an apology letter to Officer Bradley, Michael Torres, Dr. Kimura, and the Rodriguez family. The letter must be real, not written by your lawyer. I will read it myself." The courtroom was shocked. This wasn't a small punishment. This was real. Hit subscribe if you think this punishment is fair. And finally, Mrs. Ashford, you must put $50,000 in a fund for Emma's medical costs, therapy, and school support. This money will be managed by someone independent to make sure it helps Emma. You have 30 days to do all of this. Victoria's mouth opened. Preston looked shocked. The people watching clapped and cheered. I hit my gavel but let them celebrate for a moment. "Mrs. Ashford, do you understand?" She nodded. "I need to hear you say it." "Yes, Your Honor," she whispered. "You'll get written details. Report to probation in 72 hours. Court is done." I hit the gavel once. Everyone stood as I left. I could still hear people talking, feeling relieved that justice was served. In my office, I sat down and breathed. My hands were shaking a little, not from fear, but from emotion. I'd punished someone with power. My decision would be talked about and criticized. But I'd also told a grieving mother that her daughter's life mattered more than anyone's lunch. Like this video, if you believe in standing up for what's right. Preston filed an appeal within a week. I expected it. They said my sentence was too harsh. The case went to a higher court. 3 months later, the higher court made their decision. They agreed with my sentence completely. The judge wrote, "Judge Chen's sentence shows good judgment. The defendant's actions were dangerous, her lies made it worse, and her lack of regret showed she needed education. The sentence stays." I kept that paper on my wall. But the real change happened in the months after. Victoria started her community service at the hospital. I got reports every week. The first weeks were hard. Victoria was late and complained a lot. The hospital gave her hard jobs like cleaning equipment and moving patients. Then something changed. In her 6th week, Victoria was in the emergency room when a car accident victim came in, a teenage boy with bad injuries. She watched the doctors work fast. She saw the fear in his mother's eyes. She watched Dr. Kimura save his life like she saved Emma's. For the first time, Victoria understood what emergency medicine really meant. The coordinator told me Victoria cried that night. She asked if she could work extra hours. She wanted to meet Emma. Drop a comment and tell me if people can really change. 4 months later, I got a letter. It was handwritten, not typed. The writing was shaky. It was from Victoria. "Dear Judge Chen, I don't expect forgiveness. I may never forgive myself. When I stood in your courtroom, I thought I was being treated unfairly. I thought you were making an example of me. I was wrong about everything. Working in the ER changed me. I've seen what first responders do. I've met families in their worst moments. I finally understand what I took from Emma. I met her last week. Her mother brought her for therapy, and I asked if I could talk to them. Carmen could have said no, but she agreed. I looked at Emma. This beautiful girl working so hard, and I saw what my selfishness caused. I apologized. Emma looked at me and said, "It's okay. Mistakes happen." She forgave me when I don't deserve it. Judge Chen, I want to do more. I started a foundation for emergency medical services. I'm working to make laws stricter for people who don't move for ambulances. I'm speaking at schools. I can't give Emma back what she lost, but I can spend my life making sure no one else suffers because of arrogance. Thank you for not letting me get away with it. Thank you for making me see what I'd become. You didn't just punish me, you saved me. With real regret, Victoria Ashford. I read that letter 3 times. Most court apologies are fake. This was different. This was real. Hit subscribe because stories like this show why justice matters. 6 months after the trial, I got an invitation from Carmen Rodriguez. She was organizing a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital in Emma's name. She asked me to come. I normally don't, but this felt important. I went. The event was at a community center. About 100 people were there, and there helping set up was Victoria Ashford. She saw me and stopped. Then she walked over. "Judge Chen, thank you for coming. How is your service going?" I asked. "I finished the 200 hours last month, but I'm still volunteering twice a week. It's become the most important thing I do." Carmen came over. "Judge Chen, I'm so glad you're here. Victoria's been amazing. She's helped with Emma's therapy fundraising. She's become family." I looked at these 2 women standing together as partners in healing, not as victim and criminal. It was the transformation I hoped for but rarely see. Emma ran over. Her walk was still a bit unsteady, but her smile was bright. "Are you the judge?" "I am." "My mom says you helped make things better." I knelt down. "You're the one making things better, Emma. You're very brave." She hugged me. I felt tears in my eyes. Share this video with someone who needs to believe in change. The evening ended with Carmen giving a speech about Emma's journey and her hope for better traffic laws. Then Victoria spoke. Her voice shook. "Most of you know who I am and what I did. I don't deserve to be here, but Carmen and Emma showed me grace. I want to announce that my foundation is giving $100,000 to the Children's Hospital. Also, I've been working with legislators to introduce Emma's Law, which will increase penalties for not moving for emergency vehicles. It won't undo what I did, but maybe it will stop someone else from making my mistake." Everyone clapped. I watched Victoria's face change from shame to hope. This was someone who faced her worst self and chose to become better. 2 years have passed. Emma's Law passed with full support. Violations now have mandatory service and education. Victoria's foundation has helped 12 communities. She speaks at schools regularly. Emma is 9 now. She still has challenges but has improved a lot. She's back in ballet class. She writes stories about doctors and helpers. Carmen says Emma is surrounded by people who believe in her, including Victoria, who visits every week. Drop a comment and tell me what you learned. I continue to be a judge, making decisions that affect lives. But that case changed me. It reminded me why I became a judge. Not to blindly follow rules, but to serve real justice that recognizes people, demands responsibility, and allows change. I keep 3 things on my desk: a photo of my parents who taught me about doing right, a copy of the court opinion that supported my decision, and a drawing from Emma of a courthouse with a rainbow and the words, "Thank you for caring." People ask if I worried about punishing a senator's wife so hard. The truth is, I didn't think about it. When you focus on doing right, the noise doesn't matter. Senator Ashford never contacted me and later supported his wife's service and foundation. The case taught me that punishment without purpose is just cruelty, but responsibility with compassion can change people. Victoria didn't need to be destroyed. She needed to face the truth and be given a path to make things right. Like this video, if you believe in second chances earned through real change. I also learned that victims have power in healing. Carmen could have stayed angry forever. Instead, she saw Victoria's change and accepted her efforts. That didn't erase the harm, but it created something new. Emma's story went national. Millions watched the videos. People talked about privilege and accountability. Teachers used the case in classes. Law schools studied my decision. Traffic safety groups made it their main campaign. But none of that matters as much as the real change. Emma getting better. Victoria contributing instead of floating above everyone. Carmen finding peace. Those are the results that measure true justice. Hit subscribe and join a community that believes in accountability and compassion. I'll leave you with this. Justice isn't always about the harshest punishment. Sometimes it's about looking at a broken situation and asking, how do we make this right? How do we hold people responsible while letting them become better? Those questions don't have easy answers. They need wisdom and courage. But they're the questions we must ask if we want real justice. Victoria came into my courtroom thinking her status made her untouchable. She left understanding that privilege is a responsibility. Emma came in as a victim. She's leaving as an inspiration, and I hope I helped bridge that distance. So I'll ask you, what does justice look like? Not as an idea, but for real people with real pain and real potential. Drop your answer in the comments. Share this video with someone who needs to see that the system can work. Subscribe if you want more stories from my courtroom where the gavel falls with wisdom and compassion. Because at the end of the day, that's all we can do. Stand for truth, demand responsibility, create space for change, and remember that every decision ripples outward. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about justice. And thank you for believing that in our hardest moments we can choose to be better. That's what Emma taught us. That's what this case proved. And that's what I'll carry with me forever. Justice isn't just what happens when the gavel falls. Justice is what grows afterward. The healing, the change, the determination to make the pain have purpose. That's the justice I serve. That's what we all deserve. Until next time, stay compassionate, stay courageous, and never stop believing that doing the right thing matters, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.